every single show we do.
I know. If I had a camera person, then they could be doing this.
I know, but mine's all jacked up again. It's all angled.
We're going live, friends. We are starting our live video, and I'm just gonna hope for the best.
As usual, we're dealing with
I don't think ours is straight at all in any way.
We're looking at it right now.
That's fine.
Is it good enough for you? It's so messed up.
You know what?
I don't even care anymore. Let's just do the dumb show.
Ours is okay, actually. I think.
Is it? All right. It's hot in here today.
Is it? It's because I'm here. I'm too hot.
All right, so I'm readjusting something for mine.
All right.
But you can go ahead and do the intro.
Well, welcome to this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. Thank you so much for joining us live on Facebook and on YouTube. Please check out our website, hollywoodmatrimony.com. Don't forget to always go to the contest button at the top, because that's where all the great stuff is at. And then you can also find us on Instagram and Twitter at Hollywood Matter, MATR. What are you laughing about?
I'm just laughing at how it's all kind of shifted and the thing up there is kind of tilted on mine.
You know what?
Yours looks great.
Good.
Yours looks great.
On the Facebook channel, everything looks
good. I'm going to adjust
good.
mine. Hold on. I'm going to be you today.
Oh my gosh, okay. Normally, I'm the one that gets up like 4 times a show.
So you're going to have to look at my side and look at it real quick.
To try to fix everything. Oh my goodness, we're going up. It looks like an earthquake. I see your arm.
Hey, hold on.
Else.
Sorry.
Don't mess up my camera.
Sorry, I'm not touching yours.
Okay, but by you moving yours, you could be messing up mine. Babe, I think yours looks fine. It looks great. Leave
Is that better now?
Just leave it, yes. You can see the top of the banner and everything.
All right. Sorry.
Now mine is slowly starting to fall down.
No, it's not.
Mine is going...
It's not falling anywhere.
Yeah, it is. It was up here, and the camera started going...
Well,
that's okay. But now you can see our sweet dog underneath us. Welcome, Bader, to the show. Bader, you're our first caller. What did
people on YouTube have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, on YouTube.
Thankfully, nobody's watching.
Our dog is down there.
Okay.
We'll share the YouTube so you can see it.
So today is a milestone for our show.
It is.
Not because of anything we did, but it's because for the first time since March, we have 3 movies that are in the theater.
Yes, that we actually saw.
And we saw all 3 of them.
We saw a bunch of movies, I feel
and one of said movies we saw in the theater with an audience, sort of.
Yes.
Yes. So we're going to talk about our return to the theater. We're going to talk about...
Oh, gosh. I'm so sorry. That covered my mouth.
We're going to talk about my attempted return to the theater.
Oh, that was #fail.
Before we actually talk about the actual return to the theater. So do you want to talk about the theater stuff first and lead into that first movie, or do you want to talk about something else first?
No, we can talk about that. That was exciting.
So whether you know or not, well, we all know that theaters have been closed down pretty much since March.
Yeah.
End of March. So we have not been, like most other people, been to a theater since March. Now, there have been a few things like drive-ins open. There were a few theaters that were able to stay open in various places. So before people start coming in, I've been going, I don't fall for this nonsense.
Well, good for you.
The most stuff was closed. So AMC and a few of the other theaters all opened up starting Thursday in some locations, one of them being our location that we go to.
Yes.
So we were able to reactivate our Stubs account. And I'm going to give AMC props because they did a whole thing. And I'm sure everybody did their own thing, but we're with AMC. So with the Stubs account, at the beginning of all this, they paused our account, so they didn't keep charging.
Exactly.
I found out after the fact, I was kind of bummed that they had a thing where you could let them keep charging just to help support the company throughout the whole thing, which I would have done that.
We would have, but for sure.
I guess I didn't read it because
$20 wasn't going to hurt us.
Yeah, because it said when it came back, thanks for all those people that continued doing the charity promotions, whatever. Anyway.
Well, we didn't know. We're sorry.
But so we reinstated our thing. We're very excited. So this weekend you had Unhinged, Cutthroat City, and Train to Busan 2, or it's actually called Train to Busan Presents Peninsula. All of them actually opened in theaters. So AMC was doing a special to celebrate a 100-year anniversary of the theater being open. Ironically, it was closed at the time.
Yeah.
For their day, Thursday, their first day back open, they were doing 15-cent movies. And it was at the same price as it cost when they opened 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, this was only not for any brand new movies. It was just for the stuff they've been throwing in theaters. So throughout this time, the theaters and drive-ins that have been playing, it's funny because like you look at the movies that were #1 in the box office. It had been things like Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Different classic movies had taken the top of the box office again because that's what was playing. So I wanted to go see Empire Strikes Back on the big screen.
What?
I didn't need to, but
You go watch Star Wars?
I know. I have it at home, seen it thousands of times, but I'm like, 15 cents, I'll do it.
Yes.
And I wanted to test to see how the app was working because not only they did that, they also wanted to see how when you bought seats because they have all the new measures in place, and you pre-order your snack stuff. You don't have to, but you can. And so when I bought my ticket, I also bought some popcorn and everything via that Stubbs list. So Thursday gets here, we're excited. I go to the theater by my lonesome. She had to work, so she's going to be able to go with me. So I get there. So first I'm going to talk about the theater. I get there and there's already somebody cleaning the outside doors right as they open.
That's good.
They've taken away 2 of the outside kiosk ticket things. I don't know if that's really because of this, because there was one of them never worked.
Yeah, there was one that was always broken.
So
anyway.
they didn't like cover them. They took them out and re-bricked the wall.
Yeah,
They're gone. There's only 2 outside. This is at our firewall location. There's only 2 ticket machines outside. You go in, they have the little ticket booth guy is now in an actual booth. It's a plexiglass covered booth to keep him distance from everybody. Got all the normal signs. You're required to wear a mask in the theater while you're watching the movie anywhere around the theater, unless, and this is the gray area, if you're eating your snacks or drinking your drink. Now, I did ask the guy when I was there, so what is the actual rule? Because some people eat popcorn, they graze the entire movie. Other people like us eat a little bit, put it down. We may not eat for 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then go back to it. He said, well, technically, if you're eating, you can kick off. But if you're not eating or taking a drink, you're supposed to have that mask on. Now, I didn't see people policing that, but it also wasn't very busy yet.
Wasn't long.
So when I get there, I get to the thing, and I've already got my thing. I'm getting scanned, and he goes, "Are you here for the 2 o'clock Star Wars?" I'm like, "Yes." He goes, "That theater is no longer available for whatever reason." He goes, "But we put you in 3 o'clock." I couldn't do the 3 o'clock. So then it became a whole thing of getting a refund. Well, I wasn't going to ask for a refund because it's a 15-cent movie, and I used my stubs. I didn't even pay the 15 cents. I used my stubs, which is dumb. I should have just paid the 15 cents. But,
yeah, should have paid 15 cents, buddy.
But my concern was that I had spent money on this popcorn thing, which was like $10. Again, they gave Stubbs users for the premiere thing a $10 gift card as part of your credit on your Stubbs as a thank you for returning.
Yeah.
So I technically I was out of pocket 75 cents so far. And I was like, don't want to complain about but yeah, I wanted my $10 thing to spend it later.
Yeah.
So I went to I'm like, I can just cancel the reservation, right? So, but how do I do the snacks? So they looked at it and they said, okay, we're going to have to go to the concession. So with the concession, they were there and said, oh no, you bought a part of that. You got to go this. So they were all trying their best and were back and forth.
Walking back and
they
forth.
ended up refunding me the entire price of the thing, but to my credit card instead of things. So they paid me the money back. It was fine. And I still got my points for that movie, even though I didn't go.
Oh, well, that's kind.
So as I left, I got a $5 credit popped up. So
there you go.
Needless to say, we had also got excitable and went ahead and bought tickets for movie Saturday, and we bought ones for New Mutants for next week.
Yeah.
So
we're ready.
We ended up returning try number 2, this time with my lovely wife in tow, to go see Cutthroat City.
Yes. Liked it.
Cutthroat City is a new movie from the RZA, famed rapper of the Wu-Tang Clan, who was also really well-known producer in Hollywood. He directed The Man with the Iron Fists. He's done a couple other stuff and videos and things like this. It's got a pretty big cast. Would you like to talk about the movie, ma'am?
I would. So we went to go see Cutthroat City. I really enjoyed it, and it's interesting, like at the beginning of the story and throughout the story and the way it's filmed and told, it's very much a focus kind of on like art and comic books, I feel like throughout it.
Yeah, it had an interesting...
like the vibe.
Yeah, like the opening of the film is an animated sequence.
Yes, which I
looks like comic book. And I was kind of lost. I'm like, one, I knew that's not what the story of the movie was about. But it's very like Nazi skinheads and racial tensions. And I'm like, I know this movie's not about that. What is this? So it kind of threw it. But before we get into all that, tell everybody who's in the movie.
Oh my gosh. So the guy that played, I don't want to call him that. What is his real name?
Demetrius Shipp Jr.
Okay, Demetrius Shipp Jr.
He played Tupac in All Eyes on Me.
All I see now is Tupac. Now he's a little chunkier now, so he's like chunky Tupac, but like his face is a little rounder. But I see Tupac, and then a whole bunch of really cool people, and like T.I. in it.
Yeah, Isaiah Washington, who he was in Romeo Must Die.
Ethan Hawke's in there.
Ethan Hawke, Terrence Howard.
Yes.
I know I want to say this right. Shamik Moore. Who I believe was the voice of Miles Morales in Into the Spider-Verse.
Is he that main guy?
Yeah, he's the main guy. And then T.I.
Yep, I said that.
Okay, and then Wesley Snipes.
So you see all these people in the trailer. I don't think it's giving
No,
you see
everybody.
And then who's the lady? Because I don't remember what her name is and what she's.
The one with the police officer lady?
Yeah.
Well, go back and look. Did I not write her name down?
I don't know. Maybe.
Isa Gonzalez?
Yes.
She's familiar, but I don't know from
lady,
what.
Because we see her all the time.
Yeah. That's pretty much it.
No, the other lady.
That'd be Kat Graham.
Kat Graham, who we see, I feel like we see her a lot.
Anyway. So tell everybody what the movie's about.
Basically, this is after Hurricane Katrina, and we're in New Orleans, and about people dealing with the aftermath, and actually based on kind of what happened in real life about how the levees broke and why did it only hit a certain part? Well, hey, it was made that way. And about the FEMA thing and how certain areas of the city were not allowed to get FEMA aid, even though they were probably like the most
decimated.
Yeah.
But they needed
guess
it more
what?
than
That was on purpose too. All of this is
because they were the poorer areas.
In case you didn't know, the government has this thing called red line districts, and that's how money and funding for such things as schools, repairs for your streets, just infrastructure is divided up. And in case you didn't know, the government doesn't give more money to poor people on purpose. Boom.
That can't be possible because then that would mean
the government's in on it, trying to keep poor people poor. Same thing with this whole thing in the polling stations right now. There are less polling stations for more highly populated areas. On purpose. So that you stand in line all day and be like, oh, sorry, time's up. You can't come in.
Well, that's not the thing, because I don't know if they can actually close it as long as there's people in line.
Well, you have to be in the building in the line. Like oh my gosh, last year,
because I know that
I was the last person in.
Oh, did they cut it off?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Like where I was, that building, like I was walking in the school, and they're like, okay, at 7:00, sorry, no one else can come in. Like they were turning people away.
Well, I wonder, was that the last day before the end of voting?
It was voting day.
I thought there was like multiple days.
Well, I was on the last day.
Okay. Well, I understand if it was
in line, and I waited the whole other hour or whatever to vote. But
yeah, that's ridiculous.
Anywho, sorry.
It's all by design.
Anyways, yeah. So this is actually a really interesting movie. It's really focused on the people dealing with the aftermath and just trying to survive.
And what's interesting is it's an amalgam of multiple genres.
Yeah.
Is you have the genre of like a crime thriller type thing.
Yeah.
You have the historical accuracy of a situation. This isn't based on a real story, but in a real life situation that actually happened. So with that you have the comic book element, which is not like the superhero comic book world, but it's a pretty big plot point of creating a comic, not superheroes or anything like that. But the whole thing is really about the people.
Yes.
And people having to do what they have to do to survive, or what they think they have to do to survive.
Yeah.
It's all kind of held together by this crime drama that's kind of Boys in the Hood-ish.
Kind of, yeah.
You know, with because you're in that poor area and you're dealing with these guys that
they're just trying to survive.
Life.
Yeah, and it's cool. So it centers around 4 friends, and they're each very different and unique, but they all have the same thing where they live in the same area. Their families like have no income, and they're just really fighting to survive.
The element of their friendship and the chemistry they have made me think of the movie Juice, which is weird because it's Tupac's in that movie.
Yeah,
and
so
he's
now
very
you're
much
Tupac.
But he very much plays the version that when we left, I told you that would be the character I could see Tupac playing as well.
Yeah, that's so funny.
But the difference here is there wasn't so much of a thing of, and a part of that I liked was this wasn't a case of the friends turning on each other, which is usually a story like this. When you're dealing with a heist and stuff, it's usually the friends end up turning on each other, and that really never really happened.
Yeah.
They had their issues, but it was never betrayal.
Yeah.
It was more dealing with the outside sources that were a problem. It
was crazy. This whole thing, though, too. I had a little bit of problems with T.I.'s character.
Why?
I don't know why they made him look the way they made him look. Like, why couldn't we have just made him look normal? Menacing T.I.
I'm sure it was a writer thing that when they wrote the story, it was based on probably somebody they knew that had that, whatever it's called. I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah, no.
It's the same thing that they made Domino have, too, for...
I don't know if it was necessary.
It wasn't, but it was probably meant to give that a distinctive look to that character. Because, when they make somebody that's kind of the villain bad guy, they always try to do something to make him stand out from everyone else.
But I don't know. I don't know if it was to make him stand out, if it was just distracting to me.
See, and I wasn't. It was distracting the first time I saw him, but I think because I already knew it from the trailer, and you hadn't seen anything about it.
I didn't know anything about
this
at all. Like, I didn't know any of these people were in it.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, I get over it, move on.
Yeah, get over it, I guess.
But I will say that I thought he looked like he was having the most fun in that movie.
Yeah.
Because he's extremely evil and menacing.
Yeah.
But also kind of likable in a weird way.
Yeah, because he's trying to help. In his mind, he's trying to help his community.
Yeah.
In a weird way. But maybe that's what all drug dealers think. Like, I'm helping the community.
But and I think it's his delivery, because everything is, he's never screaming at people.
Yeah.
He's never losing
his mind. He's very intelligent. Like, he's a very intelligent character.
Yeah.
In everything he says.
And that's the issue. One of the issues I had in the movie, not in a bad way, is everybody was extremely calm in this movie.
Yes.
Like, all the bad guys were like, Terrence Howard's character is another kind of bad guy of sorts. But he's kind of like the biblical bad guy.
Yes, very much.
Him and T.I. talking, they're both so relaxed. My bad hearing was struggling listening to them because they're mumbling.
And I'm like, something bad's gonna happen. I'm just thinking, like, oh my gosh. I also really did enjoy Wesley Snipes. Like, I was so happy to see him.
Like,
yes.
Yeah, he's been popping up here and there lately, and I love that the role he took. He plays like an old man, essentially.
Yeah, which he kind of is now.
I think he's playing older in the movie than he actually is. Or at least in the way he moves. Because he's very, they're in New Orleans, and he's very Cajun-ish, that old grandpa, grumpy, crotchety man, and he's just like, come on here, boy,
Yeah, very much.
But he's has a very small role, but it's a very important small role.
Yes, it is, because it actually influences the lives of other people. I mean, he did without knowing, and that's another just kind of interesting thing for all of us is like we influence other people without even knowing it. So what you do matters. So what you do matters. You matter.
Now there is an element of the film in the third act that can be confusing to some people if you're not really paying attention.
I paid attention. I was like, whoa.
Yeah,
it lost me for a second. Then I'm like,
because it didn't even have any kind of a transitional cut to tell you what they were doing. It just assumes you understand. And if you don't, you better figure it out fast.
There's one thing where you see him at his table. Yeah. And I think you're supposed to, at that moment,
realize, that's what I'm saying. But if you're
it stops with that, but like that, I mean, I didn't get it.
It cuts from a very end scene to a different scene that does not connect to that.
Yeah, at all.
And then you're like,
wait a minute.
Oh, okay. But then you don't know how far back that goes.
I think it's to that moment.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't know, and you don't really know how that moment really played out. Did they go through with this thing? Did it not? Was that just everything else before that was the end, and then he added that to the story? And and then there's like, it leaves you hanging on a little bit of the story. So we were like, okay, so now you've shifted to this. We think, okay, then there's got to be more to the story. So then we're leaving, and then it pulled the mid-credit scene thing on us.
So I was like, okay, sitting back down. But that's good. I feel like it kind of wraps up everybody's story, essentially. It's really cool. Okay, side note.
Yeah, go ahead.
Question for you.
Oh.
Because it has a lot to do with art and comics. What did you think about all the art and stuff?
I like that. I like the weird. You know me. I like some of the. There's a line for me on some of the weird art. Like there's an artist named Sam Keith who draws really bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
Every character has gigantic feet.
Is that weird book?
Which one?
The one where somebody ate somebody? What was that?
No, that's Michael Fife.
Oh, okay, that
book,
get.
I loved it. And I'm glad you said him. He's a great example. He does the book.
That's too much for me.
He does this book called, you said it and I don't remember the name of it. Oh my God.
Some guy eating somebody, but not really. I think it's metaphorical.
Because you're talking about the one that was like with the relationship and the rebirth and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
Panorama or something like that. Anyway, now I have to go look it up. I'll try to post it. But Michael Fife, he does this book called Copra, who, when I first discovered him, I didn't discover, but first discovered his work, it was in a Rob Liefeld book, Blood Strike, that didn't match that style that I'm used to because it was the 90s extreme era. Right. And I was like, what is this crap? And I didn't like the book. I read through it. I was not a fan. And then I kind of went back to look him up to see, how did this guy get a job? Yeah. And then I realized he had been doing his own self-published his book, Copra, however you say it, for years. He did like 30-something issues, self-published. And it apparently was so big, it had been made into trade paperbacks.
Oh, wow.
And now Image has picked it up, and they started the book over at #1, but it's still a continuation of the last issue. So like 35, 36 is not actually #1, but it's kind of jumping on point. So I went back to read it, which then I discovered this other book that came out, which was a graphic novel storyline he did. It's what they call it. It's a body horrification or something like that. That's what it's classified as because it's a lot of mutations, and it's an amazing book. But it takes an example. So there's a thing with like the weird art, like I was mentioning, Sam Keith is similar to that. Is the weird art has to fit the character. So if you draw, for me anyway, so if you say like Michael Fife and he draws, I don't know, a Superman book, it'll look weird. Like Blood Strike, I ended up re-looking at it and enjoyed it more the next time because I understood his style. But it doesn't fit the narrative to that book. His characters, that weird body horror stuff fits perfect. And I think the movie here, it had the elements that needed to be that gritty comic storyline, but still had kind of an aesthetic to it that was really cool.
Yeah, and I think, but I only mention it because that's the whole point. Like that's the title, Cutthroat City, is this kid's comic book at the beginning of the movie. Yeah, and we kind of, it goes all the way throughout, with him thinking about it and trying to get published and like, well, who's going to read Cutthroat City? I mean, so all these things are still going through his head.
There's an element, it's not really a spoiler, but there's an element when he's talking to the publisher guy who's like talking about how this is basically just drab, it's very boring, it's just generic. Yeah. And he's like, who wants to live in Cutthroat City? And then it kind of takes you to the story, and
exactly.
And the whole movie is not just a comic story come to life.
No. It's a story about them. It's just kind of the backdrop of his reality. So I mean, do you see things sometimes in terms of comics and colors, and do you see the world that way sometimes, or no?
Sometimes I think I do look at stuff sometimes and imagine, like, I'm more of a cartoonist, and so I look at the humor and the weird shapes of stuff. So, like, if I see somebody as weird,
something awkward shape,
as weird as mean as this may sound, I look at either a deformity or something very unique in somebody's face to envision how I would draw it. So, like, if I had to draw somebody that just is very plain, if you will, there's no blemish, there's nothing, I can't make that look like them. It'll look like a generic cartoon character that Disney drawing. Like, I just change their hair. Yeah. Because I have a very specific way I draw people for that style. But if it's somebody that has like a mole on their face, or like you, you have big eyes. No, I don't mean this insult, but you have big eyes. You have fairly full lips. So I would probably make you gigantic eyes, and
well, it's cartoony.
With me, I have like a big roundish square head. I have the earrings. So the goatee, so I have stuff to add, like I had a boss that I hated at one of my jobs, and he had this big square head and this huge neck. And so, of course, I drew him. I'd been irritated with him, and I drew a picture of him. So his head was about this big, his neck was about that long,
Oh my God.
and his body was about this big.
That's so funny.
And then I posted on the board the day I quit and left.
Oh, that's nice.
So I don't know. Everybody else today liked it. I don't know if he liked it. Don't care.
Oh, well.
But I was using my art for evil.
Use your art for good. Anyways, anything else on this one?
No, I actually really like it. It has some pretty intriguing camera angles and stuff too.
Yes, that was the other thing I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Like, there's this one cool shot like this, and then there's another one where they're like this, because the guys. Well, it is very comic booky in that one sense of the shots.
Well, the reason I think is a big comic book fan,
I like the creativity that he brings to his movies.
Yeah.
And he is comic book.
I believe he's a comic book fan too.
I feel like he's sci-fi fantasy. Like he's everything imagination.
Yeah.
But he brings all that to the grittiness of real life, which is that's what this is.
But the whole movie falls very much in the vein of, like Menace to Society and Boys in the Hood and Juice and things, but a completely different element to the story. Yeah. So I really enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed it more than I thought. I like these kind of movies. When you're dealing with the hood and the criminals and stuff, I love all those movies.
I like too that they make, like, there's one whole conversation that's kind of making light of the conversation of how using the N-word and how much is too much, and like, am I even allowed to say that? And he's like, technically no, but it's funny because I think we've all had that conversation.
Right, and he's asking the one guy, he's like, the guy that's arguing about it, he's like, you already say it too much, and you're the one asking everybody else why you say it so much. And
so funny. Anyway,
moving on. So Cutthroat City, it's in theaters now.
Go to the theater. It's okay. So when we went to the theater,
it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. You'll be okay. When we went to the theater, like there was like nobody there. I think in our movie there were 3 people. Two of us,
3
plus
total.
one other person.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it.
And when you buy your ticket, at least with AMC, I'm assuming the other ones are doing something similar. They have every other row blocked off completely. So nobody can sit in front of you automatically. That's already awesome.
Yes.
Just for life, that's awesome. And then when you buy your tickets, they automatically block off either seat on either side of you.
Mm-hmm.
So we sit next to the wall because she doesn't like anybody next to her.
Very weird.
But now she's in her glory world. Nobody will ever sit next to you again now.
Okay, here's the thing. I always sit on the end of the row because I don't want to sit next to people. It freaks me out. I've always been this way.
But she also has irritable leg syndrome.
Yes, that too, restless legs. So I want to be able to have the option to stand up and kind of stand over here on the steps or in the aisle. And so this is one gift from COVID. We need to be thankful. I am thankful for this one thing that, everything's blocked off. They have like these huge tubs of Clorox wipes, and they have stations of hand sanitizer, and I bet they have more supplies in schools.
When I got there that day, awesome. my day of failure, there's a young girl was outside with her spray and thing, wiping off all the door handles outside, right? I walked in, she finished wiping them all outside, she went into the building, she did something, she came back, wiped the inside of the door handles, walked away, came back. She probably wiped the inside and the outside door handles 4 to 5 times in the less than 15 minutes I was there. Yeah. Probably more than that, but that theater is probably the cleanest I've ever seen it.
Probably. And I got one of those wet wipes, and they're like super wet wipe. They're not like flimsy. Yeah. They're like, that was enough for me to wipe my hands, wipe your hands, wipe the seat. And
they have all the condiment stuff is gone. You have to ask for anything you want. They have the to-go station things are blocked off. They used to be like the little heat lamp things you grab your food. Those are all covered up. When we got there, this is our first time of pre-buying the food like this. Mm-hmm. It was already, you pick a time to pick up your food. Yeah. And we got there, she said the name, they already had it in a bag ready to go. Yeah. They gave her a big bag with her name written on it. We walked away and had our cup, our lid, our popcorn, everything in it.
There's nothing we needed.
That's another thing that benefits you, because then they give you a whole bunch of things of butter.
Yes, which I love, because so before I was having to get the cups and fill them, and
now we don't have to listen to the stupid shake from her over there.
No, so I was pouring and like so great.
Yeah.
It was a good experience for us. So.
It was. There was only one uncomfortable, weird thing that happened to me.
What's that?
Is I go into the restroom, the only person in the restroom, right? So I'm looking at the urinals, I'm gonna go pee. So I'm at the urinal, I'm already peeing, and some kid comes in to use the urinal, and he comes right next to me.
Why wouldn't you go?
There's 7 urinals, and he stands right next to me. I'm not freaked out because of the COVID. I'm just like, that's just male etiquette. Somebody needs to talk to this child about male etiquette.
Because I thought y'all always like skip one.
You always skip one unless it's packed and you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And then I didn't think I told you this, but then he couldn't quite reach he was fine peeing, but he couldn't quite reach the handle. So now I'm peeing, and you always look straight ahead. You don't look at anybody around you. And he's over there trying to flush it, and I could see him in the corner of my jumping, trying to grab the.
Was he little?
He was medium sized.
Because he was a child, right?
He was a child, yeah.
Okay.
He at most maybe 12.
I see.
He was probably younger than that, and I was like, but he did wash his hands, so he got props for that.
Good. Thank you.
Anyway.
Good job.
All right. Moving on.
I can't even understand that open bathroom concept.
Oh, there's a little wall in between each urinal.
Oh, like a half wall?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not every place, but here there is.
Well, I think the worst would be like when you explain like a trough.
The trough at the sporting places.
It's just a big.
Yeah, it's a bathtub on the floor, and you just.
Is water just circulating?
Yeah, it's most of them. It's like got a backdrop of water, kind of like a waterfall, and it's cycling, and then the base is just like a drain. It's like your shower drain, but it's a long steel thing on the floor, and it's all the way in the floor. It's not sitting up; it's mounted in the floor. So you're literally peeing on the floor, but you're peeing into like a little.
But that means everybody can see you, right?
Yeah. You just have to whip it out and go right to town right there.
Oh my God!
And there's no specific space to pee.
You just come up.
You could fit 4 people or 74 people and all be like.
Oh my God!
And if you're in those,
does it not splatter?
Oh, everywhere. Usually that bathroom is.
That is so nasty.
And it's always where they have trough ones is
so
also where there's usually a lot of people drinking. So there's some of the people that are peeing, but they're not actually at the trough. They're a little further back in the middle of that, and it's like arcing it. So if I see a trough in there, I either go in a stall or I hold it.
This is one of those times that I'm glad I'm not a man.
Well, you and me both, sister. Because
too much.
That's a time that I wish I wasn't a man as well.
That, and if you have to mow the lawn.
And sometimes it makes you wish you were more of a man.
That's so disturbing, and I apologize.
All right, so moving on. Cutthroat City's in theaters.
Go to the theater now. You'll be all right.
I believe it's also on demand and stuff, so if you don't feel comfortable going to the theater yet, it is on demand. I believe all of these are actually still on.
Well, based on our experience, you're going to be by yourself at the theater. It's okay.
Yeah, it's been pretty.
So I felt like it was a private screening. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was very good.
So, okay, so moving on. Next movie.
So do you want to go with the one we watched Friday?
Sure.
All right, so this other one is actually classified as the big release for this week because it is more of a big studio release where Cutthroat City and one of the other ones we're going to talk about, one of them is an Asian film, and then the other one, Cutthroat City, they're both films Well Go USA, so they're ones that would normally probably get like limited release. Cutthroat City might have got a bigger release. You just never know, but it's getting that push since there's not a lot to fight against.
Yeah.
But the next one, Unhinged, starring Russell Crowe, was the big temple, and they went all out as far as promoting returning to theaters. I don't know if you saw it, but on their Twitter page, they actually had like a little badge thing to try to get people to share this as I saw Unhinged in the theater, or I returned to the theater. So they were really pushing it. And this was also the very first return to getting press screenings that I was sent. They sent us an email, and I give big props to the PR company too, because they sent an email out and said, hey, if we were able to put together an in-person press screening in a private theater for just the press, no guests, would you guys be willing to come? And I said, sure, of course, I'm fine with it. But they got an email later that says, due to everybody's, or I heard everybody's responses, I respect everybody's responses, we are going to have a in-person press screening, but we are also got the studio to set up in-home links for press screening.
That's cool.
So that all the press could see it, even if you don't feel safe.
Yeah.
And thankfully, we were able to do the press screening at home because I had to teach a class, so I couldn't go, or I would have gone in immediately.
Me too.
But it also benefited us because I wasn't able to take her, or vice versa, so we were able to both watch it.
Yeah, which I was happy because I've been wanting to see it because I like the tagline, it could happen to anyone. I'm like, this can't happen to anyone.
So tell everybody what Unhinged is about.
Unhinged is a movie starring Russell Crowe, and it's basically a road rage movie, and he goes cray. And as the movie develops, you find out
all rage.
There's more to the story on both sides with the lady and him. I mean, it's a pretty deep story because there's more. Well, I mean, there's more
it's
going on.
It's not deep, but yeah, there's
more. There's more layers. Let's just say that. There's some layers to his
So
craziness.
what did you think of, before we get into the ins and outs of it, what did you think of the movie itself?
Overall,
Yeah.
I would give it a 10 out of 10.
I really love this movie.
I love it because it incorporates some of my favorite things.
Can I guess what your favorite
kind
things
of
are?
the horror thriller
Can
genre.
I guess what your favorite things are?
What?
Getting run over.
And it has
Anybody
that.
getting run
yes.
over. People getting kicked or beat up.
Yes. Kicking.
Is there more than that?
Was anyone decapitated?
Oh, well, I guess sort of. We don't see that happen, but yeah.
Yeah, those are kind of my favorite horror thriller things. I don't want these things to happen to people in real life. I like it in your fantasy. Yes, I like them in the horror.
Yeah, I wouldn't have caught that one because even though that happens, you don't see that in the movie, so I wouldn't have thought about it that way. But yeah.
But man, this
is an aggressively violent movie.
It is.
And I was surprised how violent it was without showing a whole lot of blood.
Yeah.
Like there is blood in it.
Oh yeah.
But it's
what is this movie rated?
Oh, it's R.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, but it's angry violence.
Yeah.
It's not just I'm crazy or I'm angry with you cutting me off. This is anger.
Well, this says after an unstable man gets cut off or gets honked at.
And I wrote this in the
All
review.
that happens is he gets honked at.
But here's the thing: is I give this movie big props too because there's not a lot of setup.
No.
And when I first saw the trailer for it, I was a little like, okay, this guy's just gonna be pissed off because she cut him off, and then with this aggressive. They kicked the movie off with a pretty messed up scene, not a hard to watch scene or whatever. You're just like, oh, geez, and lets you know right out the gate that he is crazy.
He's not okay.
And so anything he does past this opening sequence is completely acceptable because not in a good way.
Not in a good way, but it's believable.
Yeah, you accept that this guy would do that at this point.
Mm-hmm. Well, you never know. I feel like, especially now with people being in this heightened sense of reality that COVID's presented, you really don't know what that one thing is that could set someone off.
Yeah.
Back in the day,
I think people
were more stable, but right now, COVID, we have Me Too, we have Black Lives Matter, we have an election. I mean, there are so many things happening at one time that I think at any moment someone could snap.
And I've been telling you that for years.
I know, you don't know what people are going through.
She likes to talk trash, and I'm like, you don't know who you're talking to.
That's true. I've been very mellow now.
You've been at home.
I've been mellow, like Olivia Newton-John. Have you ever been mellow? That's me right now. I've mellowed the heck out.
Only because she's only been home with me.
Well, now this has made me afraid to cut anyone off, to go around someone,
or to honk
at someone.
It makes you second guess, should I honk at this person?
Go and honk. But, I mean, if you do a toot toot, I think you'll be okay. But, I don't know. And then the thing you see in the trailer is like, ma'am, have you heard of a courtesy tap? It's like, boop, boop. I'm sure that's what you meant to do. And she's like, no, I didn't. I was like, oh.
That's what,
like,
okay,
shut up.
This is one of my issues. I have two issues with this film. But the movie is so great that you can ignore all these issues. In a lesser film, it would have irritated me to the point it probably ruined the movie for me. One of them was the amount of bad decisions that people make.
People are dumb.
Like she does things like, and it's funny, the things she did, only one of them really affected the movements, because there's a thing where she leaves her phone in the car.
Like, why do you leave your phone? You never leave your phone in the car.
And I leave my phone in the car all the time.
I never do. But I think because I'm a woman, I always have it with me.
But I also do it because I'll put it down like where you can't see it. I don't leave it out in the open.
No, I take it with me, and I kind of have it open and unlocked in case I need to video or dial. Because I'm paranoid. But I don't know if I'm paranoid or if I'm just aware. Anyhow, next.
The other thing.
She puts her wallet down.
Yeah,
somewhere.
she sits her wallet on top of the car.
Like your dog.
But then she doesn't leave it, which I was like, okay, well that was weird. And I think they were doing it on purpose, trying to make the audience see all these things that could go horribly wrong, but then none of them actually had a play except for one.
I know, but don't leave your wallet out.
The other big thing was the police situation. We had a friend watching it with us too, and he was constantly like, where are the police? And I kind of came to terms with, it's usually police show up faster when people don't know what's going on, but when they know, because this guy's doing stuff and there's no hiding it, there's no secret. He's running around town, crazy stuff with this, beating up people in the middle of restaurants right out in the open. And I think that's the case. Is I think the fear and the pure rage and the lack of this person like halts people from calling the police because they're like, I don't want to be involved in this, you know. And then I made a joke, but then it happened everything in the movie. If you always watch a movie, anytime the police are coming, if you drive towards the police, they never come after you.
Right.
But if you take off and you dart away, they chase you.
Right.
So I was like, that's the thing is they go drive toward them. They don't assume they're trying to get away because they're just casually driving away.
Correct.
But again, they're both things that you just move on from because the movie is so fun and violent that I loved it that way.
The other interesting thing, it's kind of sad that the movie itself is self-aware in the sense that he's like, oh, well, this is going to be all over the internet in a little bit. You can watch yourself on TV. So, I mean, that's the sad reality is that there is immediately video of something happening before there's a call to the police.
Yeah, before it hits the news or anything else, it's already, people have already seen it.
And that's the thing, people will record it before they'll call the police. So I think that contributes to the delay of why didn't we catch this guy right away?
Yeah.
So.
But let me tell you, the reason this movie works is Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe's good.
He is, you know, he's gained weight over the years. He's up and down in his weight in different roles and stuff.
We all do that.
But he's fairly hefty in this one, which I think is awesome because he gives that everyman look.
He does. And for what's happening in his life, it makes sense.
And he has these dead eyes. That you look into his face and there is nobody home. There is not a care in
that.
Well,
I think so. Did you notice too? He was popping pills while he's driving angry. Maybe that was part of his like weird eye thing.
I don't know, but
he worked it, whatever it was.
Yeah, and he looked like he was having a blast being crazy.
Yeah.
And like it's the kind of thing that, like the first time you see him look at her, you know, even if you had never seen the trailer, never know what this movie was about, and didn't know where it was going to go. The first time he goes from, you know, even when he's asking for her to apologize, he's still aggressive about it. He's polite and aggressive at the same time.
Yeah, he's crazy.
But then he takes that movement where he goes from this look to this look, and the whole demeanor changes.
We're like, okay, this is not going to be good.
Yeah.
The other thing that I thought was really interesting is because you have your phone.
I do. You have yours?
It's a minute. I was gonna say, because of this little doodaddy right here, so much is filmed and shown, and then so much is ignored. If you notice, the lady is in a car, and this other lady's on her phone like this, and this lady's like being like pushed. Her car's being rammed, and she's like, but the lady's like,
yeah.
So this little thing right here has created so many problems.
It is. It's the technology that's supposed to make our life better and easier has made our life worse.
But I like that the movie's aware of it, and it's like incorporating all like what's happening right now in the internet sensationality of things. Is that a word? Yeah. It's crazy. I like the main lady too. This Karen, how do you say her name? Pistorius. She was good.
Seems like it.
She was really good.
My name is Siri. But you knew that already.
Creepy.
Okay.
Anyways, I like her. I don't know if I've ever seen her in anything else.
She was in Mortal Engines, I believe.
Oh, I didn't watch that.
It
looks too weird for me.
It's not very good either.
Okay. Anyways, I liked her. I thought she did a really good job in this movie because she seems just like a normal, everyday kind of lady, just trying to get her kid to school in this crazy.
That was a little confusing at the beginning, by the way.
I'm
trying to figure out who was related to who and who was what.
It was her and her son.
I gathered it. I figured
her
it out.
Her brother and the brother's girlfriend.
I know, but
the mom was has been ill.
It was kind of a weird dynamic the way they were showing it because it was like I thought at first.
I don't think
she was the sister to all of them. Then I realized, okay, no, that's her mom. So is that other kid her older son? And who was that old bag they were talking to? But that lady seemed way too old to be their mom. But so it's not complicated. It just was like
I don't think you heard some stuff.
So anyway,
that's the other thing in this movie. You have to pay attention at the beginning. There's a lot of dialogue and stuff happening at the beginning that tells you everything you need to know, and then it just goes.
And for the first time since March, we have a #1 film at the box office, being Unhinged.
Oh my gosh, how awesome is that?
It was the first big movie. It opened at 4 million. I think it had another 5 million. Hold on, it says. It's like they think it'll be about 15 million worldwide by the time that the weekend's over, which is not a super strong opening, but it's not a bad one, especially when it only costs 33 million for something that nobody's going to the movies for. But this is like Russell Crowe's first big screen appearance since The Mummy.
Oh.
Which is 2017.
What's he been doing?
I think he's done some other stuff because he did that Roger Ailes TV movie.
That's right.
It's really good.
That one was good.
He's excellent in that. But he's
also
haven't
made
seen
him anything big.
Yeah. So anyway, so Unhinged is in theaters now, and I believe you can probably get it on demand, like for early release if you want to do that. But
yeah, please watch it.
It is a movie, not one I would have thought, but it is a movie that needs to be seen on the biggest screen and the loudest sound system as you can find.
Yeah.
Because it's loud. And what's funny is the PR people say that sometimes, and I dismiss it. This time they actually said, if you're watching the home screener, watch it on the biggest television you can find with the best sound system, because this movie is designed around the sound effects and the music. And the music in it is very horror-like.
Yeah.
It's like, sometimes. Yeah. And it is thankfully we have a loud sound system, so it works.
We do. And soon we'll have a theater room, a full wall that's just screen.
Hopefully.
Then I'll be like this right here, eating popcorn.
That's how you are now.
I know. I love me some popcorn.
I can tell. Look at you and tell.
I know.
All right. Moving on.
Next movie.
What do you want to talk about next? You want to talk about the 2-part one?
Yeah.
Or do you want to talk about some of the stuff I saw without you?
Yeah, I guess so.
I got a couple of quick ones. Where's my other? Okay, I won't talk about it. I left it over there, I guess. So this one real quick. A movie called The Barge People, which I believe is Australian, but I could be wrong. It doesn't matter. Anyway, it's a movie called The Barge People. It's about these people that are under the barge. No, it's about this group of people, friends that they rent this barge thing, and they're going down like this river or whatever. And it starts off telling you that there's a it's just British countryside. So, but it says that it starts off saying that there's like these mysterious deaths that have occurred for years in this area and whatever.
Then I wouldn't be going.
I don't know if they knew about it, but it's just saying that not to them. It's like on the screen, like the words are telling you this legend. So anyway, they go on it, and then of course, this mutant guy here shows up. This guy here.
Yeah.
But he's not the only one. There's a few of them, and they're all slightly different mutations.
Oh, cool.
So it's like a slasher flick. My big issue with this movie, this is a pretty entertaining movie. It's fun. My big issue was I didn't care about any of these characters. Matter of fact, I was a little irritated with them when the movie started.
Well,
not in the good irritation where I was ready for them to die. It was just, I didn't care to the point where I was almost like, ugh, I'm not even going to finish watching this movie. I'm like, no, I'm going to stick with it because I want to see this guy.
Yeah.
And when these guys show up, it gets pretty violent and a little bit gory. One of my problems was they seem to be able to dispatch these guys way easier than I would have thought. Like, don't get me wrong, they're getting murdered and cut up left and right, and these guys are causing mayhem and chaos and killing. But I felt like when they started fighting back, it didn't seem to take that much. And then there's some twists and turns in a very Texas Chainsaw Massacre like. But it was a fun little slasher / monster flick. So if you like this genre, you probably have a good time with it. I think it's one that thankfully, because it's a legend type thing, they could do a lot of movies with this. So I'm hoping one that maybe does well enough, because I'd like to see these weird creatures come back and do something else with it, and maybe a little more expansion, and not on their history, but more into the violence and anger and all that kind of stuff. What are you looking at over there?
Where's my movie that I want to talk about?
I don't know what movie it is, so I can't tell you that quick. We don't own it.
We don't?
No, that we have this discussion all the time.
Oh my gosh, this is.
We've talked about that movie on this show numerous times.
I know, but I gotta talk about it because that was my Corona movie of the week.
Oh, for God's sake! Well, let's finish our other ones. And
That's fine. Go ahead. What else do you got?
All right, so the next one will be into. Oh, here's the other one. Oh, really quick. Oh no!
Is it down underneath?
I got it.
You got it.
The other one, really quick, is a movie called One Night in Bangkok.
One Night in Bangkok. No.
You know what happened? What they call it when you punch somebody in the groin?
No.
Bangkok.
Oh, that's funny.
Anyway, it's One Night in Bangkok starring Mark Dacascos.
Yes.
And Kane Kasuki.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Oh my goodness.
So I want to read this to you because I have a bone to pick with this movie. I am a super fan of both of these gentlemen.
And the funny thing is, he told them about his bone to pick.
I told them because I think it's very misleading, and I believe it was a horrible mistake, and I think it makes the PR people look bad when they had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, but you told them, so hopefully they can fix something.
I actually know Kane Kasuki, so I reached out to him. I did an interview with Martin DeCoscos through the PR people for this. I just emailed Kane and said, hey, can I interview you for this? And he's like, sure. Thankfully, I saw the movie before I interviewed him, which I tried to, but sometimes there's this weird thing PR people do sometimes where they're like, do you want to interview so-and-so? I'm like, yeah, sure. And then they don't send me the movie. And they're like, well, we're not sending the movie out now, but you can talk to them. I'm like, what am I going to ask them?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know anything about the movie.
So I set up the interview with Kane long before I saw the movie, and I said, let me hold off. We were going to do it, and I said, let me hold off till I watch the movie. He's like, okay. So I got to do the coolest thing that came out of this movie, the best thing ever, was I got to do Zoom interviews with both guys, seeing them in person. I interviewed Mark a few months ago via the phone. It was awesome. It was last year, actually, which was awesome. But and Kane I interviewed years ago over the phone at the middle of a convention, and have been emailed with him a lot. But I got to see both guys face to face. I interviewed them both from my home martial arts dojo, which was cool. So we got to talk about some stuff. Anyway, so let me read you the synopsis. I'm going to tell you really quick, and then we'll move on from this movie. So it says a hitman named, I'm old, I got to take my glasses off.
Oh my God.
A hitman named Kai flies into Bangkok, gets a gun, and orders a cab. He offers a professional female driver big money to be his all-night driver. But when she realizes Kai is committing brutal murders at each stop, it's too late to walk away. Meanwhile, an offbeat police detective, played by Kane Kasuki, races to decode the string of slayings before more blood is spilled. This chilling action thriller is a homage to Collateral with a shocking twist. Stars Mark Dacascos. There is no shocking twist, first of all. It is pretty much Collateral, which was the Tom Cruise, Jamie Foxx movie where he's a hitman running around with a cab driver.
Yes, I remember that.
Now, this is a good movie, okay? So before I say anything else, I enjoyed the movie. It's interesting. It's not a martial arts flick. So this thing right here is something you martial arts guys are going to have to get past. Mark Dacascos and Kane Kazuki. If you see these two people up here, what is the first thing you think is going to happen? You think they're going to get a badass fight of some sort. That is not in this movie. Not to either one of their own, just not because it's a bad fight. Because it does not exist, because this is not a martial arts flick. And I'm fine with that.
But does it tell us that?
It doesn't say it's a martial arts flick, but it doesn't say say anything other than what it is. This is an action thriller.
Okay.
Much like the last Scott Adkins movie, Legacy of Lies, was an action thriller as well that had a lot of fighting in it. It had way more fighting than this movie does, but it's not a karate movie, right? So knowing how a lot of these guys do some of their film work, I always try to go on optimistic. This one was probably the hardest because I see two guys that I love that I want to see fight.
You want to see them fight.
I'm excitable.
That's what you're expecting.
So as I'm watching the film, I then realized the police detective that says right here, meanwhile, an offbeat police detective, Kane Kasuki from Tekken's Revenge, races to decode the string of slayings before blood is spilled. Kane Kasuki does not play the police detective that is on the trail of blood being spilled. He is in a cameo scene at the very end of the movie for about 15 minutes, if that, playing a guy that was behind, I'm going to spoil it, I don't care, behind kind of doing a lot of what was going on.
Okay.
He is not throughout the movie. And so when I talked to Kane about this, I asked him, I said, no, I've seen the movie now. And he laughed. And I said, so this was not the movie I thought again. Both of them laughed when I told them this. And when I mentioned it to Kane, I said it was a little off-putting, because they have your name. He goes, yeah, I didn't know my name was going to be in the marquee. I know the director, and he showed me a part. I said, sure, I'll come do it. That's kind of cool. He goes, I didn't even know I was going to fight that day because there was a little bit of a scuffle.
Yeah.
So he shot one day, and so when I sent my review and I told the PR person, and just FYI, this says this and that is not accurate. But we are
that's not true.
So I know sound like I'm bashing this movie, but that's not what I mean. There's some issues, and that is all publicity stuff.
Yeah.
That I have an issue with,
sometimes.
and not the PR department with Lionsgate who put this together.
Yeah.
And I love Lionsgate stuff. They put out a good stuff and some interesting stuff, but this was a big faux pas. This should have been Martin Dacascos. It would have been way cooler to see Kane Kasuki show up unexpectedly, even for that small scene, and be like, because in the movie The Driver with Martin Dacascos from the same director, which is why all of them ended up working on this film together. Yeah, it's the same thing. Martin Dacascos, the whole zombie flick, but the whole movie is not a martial arts flick. It's an action flick, but it's mostly him in the car with his daughter, dealing with the loss of his wife, dealing with this apocalyptic world, and coming to terms together. This is almost an identical movie because now he's in the car with another person. Yeah. And I asked him if they can, and he didn't. He's like, "Holy crap! I didn't really connect that." But
you connected it more.
But then at the end of the driver, Ken Kasuki shows up. But for like a split second, you're like,
what?
But I found out there's supposed to be 2 other films, and one of them focuses on Ken Kasuki's character, one of them focuses on something. They all kind of come together, so it makes sense. This should have been like that. So it should have just been Martin Costas.
Surprise in it.
But this isn't one of those cases of the studio trying to sell their names.
Yeah.
And make you get excitable to buy it, and then by the time you've seen it, it's too late. By the time you realize it. So anyway, One Night in Bangkok. It is a good action thriller. I did enjoy the movie. Martin Dacascos is good in it. He doesn't speak a lot, so it's a lot of emotional stuff and things like this. But it is not a martial arts flick. So if you're going into martial arts, no. But we're giving away copies. It's on our site too. So I know I didn't give it like super great hype. But if you like a good action thriller, this is a good movie to watch. And I love all things both these guys do, so I will promote it. I don't care how good or bad it is. I will promote it.
There you go.
All right. So let me move on from my anger or irritation. So this next one we're going to talk about, there's 2 parts. There's the new one and the original, which you had never seen.
I'd never seen somehow.
So we're going to dive in to the original first.
Okay.
So it's the Korean flick. I believe it's Korean. Train to Busan, which is a zombie flick. Probably, to me, one of the best zombie movies to come along in a long time.
Yeah.
So the whole movie basically takes place on a train.
Yes.
Going to?
Busan.
I
mean, it's right there.
So what did you think of Train? Because you knew nothing about the movie. You knew of its existence.
You told me about it and how cool it was, and it was zombies. That's all I knew.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it on one of our early shows.
Yes.
Years ago.
We'd have to go back and find out what episode that was. But
that was before, I think this was at the early days of the show.
Maybe.
Anyway.
But, oh my gosh. This movie is really good.
I told you.
And I'm going to just say, I love Asian cinema. Because they will do things that we don't do.
Yeah.
And they'll do stunts and acrobatics that we don't always get here. These people.
We're starting to see it more often now.
Yeah.
But
some of these people had to be like contortionists. Because it's amazing. And there was that one guy that did like that weird capoeira flip. I don't know if it's in the new one.
I think it was in the second one that you saw. When he had the arm behind his back.
He flipped behind him and then he jumps all the way up on one hand and flips over. And I was
the cool thing is if you hire the contortionists, capoeiristas, break dancers, all those people can do most of this stuff.
I love it.
So it gives a whole other genre for them to work in.
I love it. But anyway, so this one just starts off, and this girl gets on a train, and she's like,
are there snakes on this train?
And you see a bite on her leg, and I'm like, oh, this is it. This is all it takes. It's just one. And what I love about this is their version of a zombie is more like the World War Z fast zombies.
Yes.
You know, you find
like
some
the
other
rage
things.
Zombies from,
you find out some other things
later.
about how they work and what they do and don't do. But man,
the movie is intense.
It is. Like the whole time I was like, oh.
She gets stressed out when there's a lot of chaos and destruction, and she doesn't get stressed out by action and stuff. But like
I love the good
things like Cat in the Hat, like things that are just like nonsense chaos and a lot of stuff happening for no reason.
Yes, I can't handle that. So this was like.
And I didn't tell her anything about what she was walking into.
No, and I was like, oh.
So about halfway through the movie, I went in the kitchen. I come back out. I'm like, "So are you stressed out?" And you're like, "Yes." And then at the same time, she goes, "Oh, something happened on the TV that I wasn't looking at."
But I'm thinking right now, watching this right now with the corona going on,
with the disease.
I'm like, oh my gosh.
And it being a confined space.
Then I'm asking you seriously, like, are we prepared for zombies? Like, what do we do? Where do we go? Where do we hide? Then I'm start thinking we need those metal doors like on The Purge that Ethan Hawke was selling at the beginning of the movie, where they go, and we are like locked in. But then it's like we have to be very quiet because you don't want the zombies to hear you. And I'm like freaking out. Now I'm in like zombie control. So for real, I'm thinking like, what do we do in case of zombies? And then what I know about all zombies, which I think we finally find out here in the movie, why are people so dumb? Shoot them in the head. Come on.
Well, sometimes when you get overwhelmed, it's hard to accurately shoot them, but yeah.
You know, sometimes.
It's always funny because when we watch movies like this, we also always decipher, or we usually try to figure out who I am in this movie.
Yes, I loved that one guy in this movie.
So she's always like, "You're that guy."
There was this one guy.
So it kind of sets me up to know what my job is if anything goes down.
There's this one guy. He's just like this normal looking dude, but wearing his little jacket, his sport coat, and his
pregnant
scarf.
wife.
And then when it's time to fight, he takes his scarf off, takes the jacket off, and he's like, "Wow!"
And he like duct tapes his arms so they can't bite through him.
He's like, "I'm ready. Let's do it."
And he was hitting shit hard.
He was. Anyways, this is such a good movie, and yes, it has the zombies, but it's actually the story of a father and his daughter, and the man and his pregnant wife, and
people on the train,
and the two sisters,
yeah.
2 older sisters, and then really about the classism of the rich and the poor.
And how the real horrors are usually the humans,
it's
not
the
the
humans
monsters.
that cause a lot of
But this movie does not pull punches. It is in your face. It's aggressive. It's violent. Some of my favorite stuff that they do in this movie is the background stuff. It's like when they're running and you see zombies. Like there's a scene where they are at a train station and the zombies bust out of this building up at the top.
Yes.
And they're running and zombies are just falling and bouncing off the top of the train on the ground. But then they're getting right back up and keep going. It's craziness.
So props to all the stunt people too, and the makeup.
Well, a lot of that was CGI stuff.
Yeah, no, but makeup and contortion-y people.
So
and
with the success of this movie,
yes, so good.
What always happens, we get more.
Yes.
So what's funny is I knew about Peninsula a long time ago. I saw a trailer for it. Did not realize originally that it was part of Train to Busan. The trailer I just saw said Peninsula. Well, this one is called actually Train to Busan Presents Peninsula. It's 4 years later. The world has now been overrun by the zombies or whatever, or the area, whatever you're going to go with for this story. But it's basically the zombie apocalypse world now.
Yeah.
And now it's not the same characters. It's a new set of people, but we're dealing with their new thing. So before I tell you my thoughts, because we haven't even talked about the new movie. What did you think of the new chapter?
The only thing that I think at the beginning I was disappointed is that we didn't get some of the original people back.
Yeah, I was thinking that
I was hoping there would be some sort of a connection.
Well, there was a girl that shows up to save the one guy. I was expecting maybe that was her, the little girl grown up.
Yeah.
That did survive. But yeah.
But that's okay.
But at the same time, I'm fine with that because that means you can keep telling Train to Busan Presents movies.
Yes.
And not be connected. So I like this movie. I liked it a lot. But my issue with the movie, and this is always the thing this was already an uphill battle. When you have a movie like the first one that is so good, it's hard to capture that again. And what do they do with every single sequel? They try to make it bigger.
Yeah.
And so this movie tried to go bigger in locale, in characters, in the action stuff. And it felt like there was less zombie action and more shooting from a distance. Like the car stuff was always awesome, even though the car stuff was all CGI. It looked more like a video game type thing on some elements. It's awesome to watch, don't get me wrong. But I think it lost the intense, very much like Resident Evil. When the first Resident Evil movie was more horrific, then they kind of shifted to more of an action tone.
Yes.
The second movie is more of an action.
Going to die.
Yes, I felt like the new one is more of an action movie than straight up. And it's dark all the time too, so it's a little hard to see things sometimes.
Yeah. That's another one where I think you need a big screen.
Yeah, because if you're watching on a small one, you're not going to see some of the stuff going on.
But I do like that we do focus in on the people because, I mean, number one predator in the world are humans. Yeah. And you see that after the downfall of a society. I mean, that's the scary thing, that we know that would happen. So that's why you got to be prepared.
People always turn on each other.
For zombie apocalypse or a purge or whatever, because people will turn on each other. The government or the system of policing or whatever thinks that they're in control, so they take over.
Well, you're always going to have the people that aren't strong enough to survive.
Yes.
You're going to have the people that are, their only goal is to they either want to rule or they want to they have something to gain for it.
Yeah. And
then you have the people that are trying to fight for everyone.
Yes.
And none of it works together.
Mm-mm. So it's a mess.
But it is a big, gigantic zombie action flick. Not a horror movie so much. But there are some great scenes. There's some awesome fun stuff. It's got that apocalyptic vibe. It's got, the family drama.
It even harkens all the way back to like a gladiator-esque type world we live in now. With different people. And
there are some things that are a little irritating, but again, this is every movie where you're like, why are you taking so long? Why are you doing this? Just go. Like there's a final thing. She's yelling at the TV.
I'm like, run!
Because this is another one we ended up watching it at home because it wasn't showing around us. So my PR guy sent me a copy. But she's like, and there's a character named Jane. She's not important to any of the movie. She's just a soldier that has his name written on her shirt. And so we're yelling at Jane.
I'm like, Jane, come on, let's
Jane
go.
is not making things happen
go.
like she's supposed to. And they're doing this whole scene for effect and emotion and intensity. Mm-hmm. But we're like, Jane, get your shit together.
Like, come on, Jane, move it. Like everybody. And then people are like, I'm like, do this over there.
Like Jane, grab that bitch and drag her.
Like, move and do your crying later. But there are zombies.
So when the movie was over, my first thing I was saying was like, somebody's going to have to come down on Jane. Jane's going to get in trouble when she gets back to the base.
Yes. Just look, babe, if there are zombies, we're running, okay? We're not stopping.
That's fine. I'll run faster than you.
No, but I'll run longer than you. So
I don't know.
I might.
I've seen you run lately.
Can we just make sure we stay together? Let's get eaten by zombies together.
You can't be asking me after the way you've done me in the past and things that go down. You always take off running and leave me behind.
Well.
Now that you know that you need me, you're like, can we stay together, my love? Like we told the story, I'll tell you again. We were on our honeymoon. Yes. Yes, our honeymoon. We had just become betrothed and we're in love with each other. And it was supposed to be the happiest time of our lives. And we're hiking up the side of a mountain in where we're going. Arizona. Up the side of a mountain in Arizona, having a lovely time. She's a little ahead of me. I'm getting a look at her booty, and I'm all like, "Hey, girl, I just married her." There's a little rustling in the bushes. She bolts and says nothing to me.
I said, "Run!"
She didn't. I didn't know there was anything in the bushes, and I'm about to step next to what she's supposedly running from. So basically, what would have happened in this movie scene? She would have ran. I would have been like, "Honey," and then it would have ripped my leg off, and then she'd be like, "Honey, I don't know what happened." And I'd be like, "Bitch, you left me behind." And then we would have got a divorce. I'd had one leg.
But you would have been a zombie, and then you would have eaten me, and it would have all ended.
And it would have been horrible, and I would have been one-legged man.
Zombie.
And you would have been on the side of a mountain, too scared to come down. I think it was a lizard in the bushes of this fool.
But I said run.
She didn't. She just she left me. She left me to die.
You can't hear, so you didn't.
So
hear
that
me.
Was the way our marriage began. She left me to die.
Anyways, now we're gonna do some zombie prepping and be ready.
We aren't. I'm ready.
We got to get all this stuff. Like
I live by the rule that I don't have to run fast. I just have to run faster than you.
Well, I'm gonna run faster than you.
I've seen you run.
I know. I'm gonna try real hard.
You got a lot of back weight.
Well, I'm just gonna shoot things in the head. That's all I got.
But I have the gun.
I know.
You've got a crossbow with no arrows.
That's not.
Anyway, Train to Busan presents Peninsula is also in theaters now.
Go watch it.
All three of them are also on the early access, on demand, digital, whatever you can try to get. So they're all movies to check out, but they're all movies we got to see. You can see in the theaters. It's very exciting to have it back. We got anything else? Or is that pretty much it?
Well, this we said we were going to talk about on TV Tuesday. This I just wanted to mention was my.
Okay, we'll mention. That's right. Go ahead.
So this week I had my Corona movie of the week.
Corona.
Next week's my Corona movie is going to be interesting. So this week
you know what it is?
Yeah, I'm going to watch a whole series. It's in my head, but
you're going to watch a whole series in your head.
But it might be on VHS, so I'm confused.
You're going to have to talk to me because I don't know what you're talking about.
Anywho, so this week I rewatched and revisited Midsommar, which I know several people just didn't get it, or they think it's gross or whatever, but I think they didn't get it. I enjoyed this movie. It stars Florence Pugh and a bunch of other people. And it's about this girl who loses her family, and she's really in the throes of her, I guess, sadness and depression, honestly. And she just feels completely alone and isolated because essentially she is. She has a boyfriend who doesn't really do much for her, so she's literally alone. And she ends up going on this trip to, where are we going? Sweden?
I think so. It's been a while.
And
is it Denmark?
No, they're Swedish.
Maybe it is. Okay.
And to a commune with her friends to go see the summer solstice. And it ends up the commune's more kind of a little bit of a cult, I guess. But
say a little bit?
A little bit.
A lot of bit. It's all.
But there's a bunch of weird things that happen throughout the film. But in reality, to me, the movie is about her journey of finding people that understand her, take her in. They're there to share in her sadness and her sorrow. And yes, a bunch of weird things happen. There's some weird sacrificey things, some weird sexual things. I mean, there's a bunch of weird things, and people die or go missing or whatever. But to me, it's her story, and throughout the story, you see like how she falls apart, but they pick her back up, and it's weird. I'm not saying it's not weird, but at the very end, I noticed at the very end that smile. Like there's horrible tragedy stuff happening, but at the end she smiles, and I feel like she's found her spot.
Well, because it's the only time she smiles in the whole movie.
Exactly, and it's creepy. It's interesting.
It's a heavy movie too.
It is, and I love the filmmaking. I love the color of the movie. There's like when she's.
I love Ari Aster's work. I know you don't like Hereditary, but so far he's 2 for 2 for me.
I liked Hereditary up until the end. I didn't enjoy the ending.
I still don't understand why you don't like.
Let me try to watch it again
because the ending is exactly what I expected.
I didn't know that's where we were going.
I think I just figured that's where.
But now knowing that, this movie was like, oh, okay, we're in a.
I'll watch it again. I like Hereditary.
Okay, we'll try it again. But I like the color tones and the filmography of it. And
they're two polar opposite movies. Hereditary is very dark.
This was
Midsummer's very bright. Yeah.
It starts off very dingy when she's at home, and she gets to Sweden. Then there's this one camera angle where the camera literally turns upside down and around. And
that's when they're in the car, right?
Yes. Yeah. Okay, this is a whole new section of her life and the story.
I think it was more immersive when we saw it in the theater.
It was totally.
Probably watching it
and
on
there's
TV.
A bunch of brightness, and the sun never sets.
Well, now there's a director's cut of it too.
And there's like the screen is like undulating because there's like a lot of drugs and drinking.
She just wants to use big words.
No, I adore this movie. It was my favorite movie of whatever year it came out, 2019, I guess.
Well, there's a director's cut as well now.
I'm excited.
You got to find and watch.
So we'll watch it again. Anywho, just wanted to mention it. Some of y'all probably didn't see it, or you didn't get it, but please revisit. Thank you.
They're right.
Now I got to write down my next movie.
Also, Train to Busan Peninsula actually has made $32 million worldwide.
Oh, good.
It racked up $225,000 in U.S. cinemas this weekend, which doesn't seem like a lot, but for
not having
movies just now opening and being a foreign film, that's probably not all that bad.
Because you do have to read it, but get over yourselves.
We still got the tax collector. We still got the tax collector in theaters.
Oh, that was good.
The Rental, which is the other one I want to see, which Dave Franco directed.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. They re-released The Gentleman, which I loved. It was love.
That's cool.
The one I'm bummed out that we don't have, that we have to wait till next year.
Oh, goodness.
This is gonna be silly stupid. My daughter's gonna be super bummed about it too. It's the SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run.
Yeah.
It's got its international or Canadian run going on already.
Oh.
And it's gonna get dropped here on video on demand next year. It's not even getting a theatrical release now like it was supposed to. Well, Corona. And then they decided to release it in Canada because it's already made like $2.6 million since last week.
Yeah.
In Canada only, because it's the only place it's playing.
Why is it in Canada? Is Canada somehow safer?
I don't know.
Probably.
I think so.
We didn't talk about this yet.
We're not stupid. Oh, do you want to do that today?
Yes.
You want to save it for next week?
No, because it came out this week.
Okay. Well, let's talk about our last one real quick.
One more movie.
Sorry, we're already longer than our normal show.
We had a lot to talk about.
But that's okay. We haven't had movies to talk about, really. Yeah. So what is it?
This is the new release on Disney Plus this week called The One and Only Ivan. And it's about a silverback gorilla named Ivan.
What?
Yeah. So what did you think? What do you know?
I didn't know a lot about this movie.
What are you doing?
Okay, well, I just got charged for something.
Okay, don't worry about that.
Sorry, it just beat me, and then I didn't know what it was, so it freaked me out. I didn't know a lot about this movie, other than like the cast and that it was going to be Disney Plus kind of thing. So I thought it was one of those that was going to be kind of silly and cheesy because it's a talking animal movie. So those are always about a 50-50 shot of it sucking. Anytime you make the CGI animals talk.
Yeah.
Were
all the animals CGI?
Yeah.
I think they were.
I think there was probably elements where a real animal walked by or something. Yeah. But I was actually surprised how much I enjoyed the movie.
I really did too. I thought it was very heartfelt and emotional.
Yeah. And it didn't come across stupid.
Right.
And silly. It was very much like a Tim Burton movie to me.
Mm.
Maybe that's because he did Dumbo and now I just see that.
Maybe.
But it just had that. It's not a quirky movie. It's very straightforward. It's very simplistic. There are layers to the story and the characters, but it's also not a case where the animals talk to people, so it comes off more like the animated features where, the animals, that's how animals are communicating with each other, but the people hear them as normal animals.
Right, which I like.
That probably made it not feel as dumb.
Yeah.
But the animals all looked really good.
Yeah.
This was another one that was supposed to be a theatrical release,
yeah.
but because of Corona, it got bumped to Disney Plus, which was probably good for it, because I don't know if it's one of those movies that would have made a ton of money, but you never know.
You never know.
But it's got Bryan Cranston in it, who plays kind of it's like this weird circus mall thing, where they have a circus in a mall.
Yeah.
Very strange. But I guess apparently really existed at some point, because this is based on a true
story. You guys.
I don't think animals talked in real life, but
well, they talk to each other.
but this gorilla paints. That's kind of the ultimate story.
Yeah.
But it's the kind of collecting of animals and their different personalities. You got Danny DeVito and Sam Rockwell and Angelina Jolie, and even Shaka Khan does a voice. I think she was the chicken.
Yeah, she was Henrietta the chicken.
But I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. I thought it was heartfelt. It was emotional.
It was good.
Did you cry?
I did. I was getting very emotional. And I don't care, but there was
Did you say normally don't care? You cried everything.
I know. That Shaggy dog got me. That was Danny DeVito, right?
Yeah.
That Shaggy dog, I want one of those. It looked like a Benji.
It did look a little bit.
But his name was Bob.
Yes, it's Bob.
So who knows? This was like the cutest movie, and then knowing you had told me it was based on a true story, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that a long time ago about the
painting
gorilla that painted and stuff, and it's just awesome. And then it brings back to mind that we probably shouldn't have animals in circuses or caged up, like all these people that have tigers in their home, which led us to that whole Tiger King fiasco at the beginning.
Ironically enough, with all this Corona stuff, you're going on 4 or 5 months now. Doesn't it feel like it's been forever since the Tiger King phenomenon?
Yeah.
Like, and I think it's weird. I don't mean to go on a tangent of that, but it feels weird. Like everything was Tiger King for so long, and now it's like it doesn't even exist anymore.
I know.
And
the only weird thing still is that we went there.
Oh, I know that.
We've totally been to all
that. Yeah, we've been to that, but it's like, it's just weird
that it came and went so fast.
This stuff happens all the time like that, but normally we're so busy with life that you don't see it phase out. And this one, we were at the beginning of it, in the middle of it, and then it disappeared all within the same time frame of us all sitting around watching it.
Yeah, just a matter of
come and
weeks,
go.
I feel
it was really weird.
Oh my gosh. Anyway,
so
you need to check out the one and only Ivan. It really is good. Gather your family around. Make some
family
popcorn.
film. It's kind of heavy at times, but it's fun and it's interesting. It's a movie that's perfect for Disney Plus, because it's not one that I can't see how anybody would not like the movie.
Yeah, it's great.
Unless you're just a curmudgeony person that hates everything.
Like
that guy that you haven't seen, your arch enemy you haven't seen in months. How are you alive?
I know. I hope. Well,
he's the one you want to see first.
I'm alive. I don't know if he is.
Yikes! That's art.
I'm just saying.
All
this
right.
is how
moving
things
on.
work.
Let me talk about what's coming out this week.
Okay.
We have a bunch of giveaways as well. We are giving away still copies. These are what I still have left. Some of them I just haven't taken down. We got the High Note still. Got a couple of copies of that left. The One Night in Bangkok. It is a good movie, even though it's not the martial art one we wanted. A Dog's Courage, the animated one we talked about last week, and Gundala, The Rise of a Hero. Also, I've shared it out. If you're interested in it and you're watching this, for some reason it's not showing up on the website, but I did put the link, so I got to figure it out. But we're also giving away the 10th and final season of Hawaii Five-0. So if you want a copy of it, just shoot in an email to us and say I'm interested in entering the contest for this.
Doing a hula.
You don't even have to. If you don't see the link or the page itself, just send an email and say I'm interested in winning this, and I'll put you in the mix. And I think that's it for now, although there are a few other ones that are going to be popping up here pretty soon, and some of them some 4Ks and things like that. I have some other TV shows that I'm trying to figure out a different way to put them up instead of just our standard thing.
Yeah.
So on Blu-ray and DVD and stuff this week, we got Flash, the complete 6th season. It's another one of those sad shows that got ended a little bit early. So we have that coming out. Deep Blue Sea 3, which we'll talk about next week.
I didn't know there was 2.
I barely remember the first one. The King of Staten Island is coming on Blu-ray and DVD this week, which is one of my, I think it's on my top 10 list for this year already.
Mm-hmm.
Shout Factory. Is releasing Tales from the Dark Side, the movie. Then we're also getting SEAL Team, the complete 3rd season. is coming out this week with David Boreanaz. Aurora Boreanaz.
The Aurora Boreanaz.
Is coming out this weekend. That's pretty much it. I mean, there's a few other random things, but Caligula, the complete TV series, is coming out, which I didn't know there was one.
Didn't even know.
Yeah,
Who knew? Okay, so here we go. There's so much happening. There's a bunch during the midweek coming out on video on demand, but the big stuff on Friday, the New Mutants.
Theater release.
Theater.
New Mutants finally coming out.
So I think we're going to watch all the X-Men movies just because.
Yeah, just for fun. Because the New Mutants has been delayed multiple times. People, never thought it was going to actually get released. It's the last Fox movie in the X-Men franchise that was part of the Fox brand before it all got bought by Disney. So it's kind of the last of that version of the X-Men. Unless it does well, then they may continue it, because it's looking way better than what everybody expected. And then everybody thought it was just going to get dumped onto Disney Plus, but it didn't. It's still, they held out, and they're getting the theatrical release finally this weekend, and we have our tickets, so we'll talk about it next week.
Okay. This is an interesting movie. I think only I would care about it. It's called Fatima. It's about a girl in Portugal who receives visitations from the Virgin Mary. This is during World War I. It's interesting to me.
Oh, I turned down the screener. You want a screener for that?
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
I'll leave it.
Okay. I'm excited about this too. Bill and Ted Face the Music. I don't even know how this is going to work because they're both old.
Well, this is supposed to be their time where they.
So, is it okay if they look old?
Well, yeah, they're supposed to, because remember in the storyline, when they grow up, they were supposed to write the song that saves the world. This is supposed to be they're at the age when they should have wrote the song, but they haven't written it. And now things are.
And
that's
this
why
is
the
a theater release.
Yes, well, here's the thing that's kind of crazy is they had already announced that Bill and Ted was getting the on-demand early release because the theaters didn't look like they were going to open, and it still is.
Oh, okay.
So you can still get it at home, I guess $20 or whatever. But now the theater's open, it's getting its theater release too. So we'll probably have a news story, because the current plan, we don't know if it's going to happen or not, is to try to go to Alamo to see Bill and Ted.
Yes.
And we're going to AMC to see New Mutants on the big digital screen.
Just to see what their practices are.
Yeah.
Like, we know AMC's fairly clean. Their stations are set up. We like the way that's done. So now we're going to check out Alamo.
And Alamo's always a clean theater.
Always.
But what I'm interested in is in relation to the food, because it sounds like you have to order all your food in advance. I don't think there's going to be waiters walking around. I think they're literally going to come and just deliver your food and walk away.
One and done.
So we'll see what happens.
How that works. We'll let you know. Okay, this coming on digital video on demand. Rogue, the movie with Megan Fox, where she's a mercenary. I don't know how believable that is to me, but we'll try and see.
I remember watching that trailer. I'm like, and it might be the funniest group of comments on a trailer I've ever seen of people and her being the mercenary badass.
I don't know. Anyways, this movie called The Faceless Man, video on demand and digital.
I have that one if you want.
It's about these people who go to the countryside for a holiday and then find out there's crazy people there.
You want to watch that? I have that.
Sure. This looks cute on Disney Plus, a new Phineas and Ferb movie. Candace Against the Universe.
You don't ever even watch Phineas and Ferb.
No, but if you like Phineas and Ferb, I know many people do. And
I've only watched the Phineas and Ferb Star Wars and Marvel specials. I didn't watch anything else.
Who knows? This movie still here. Don't know. Somebody disappears and they're trying to solve the case.
And now they're here.
Centigrade, an American couple travel to the mountains in Norway. That just sounds like a bad idea. Get Duked on Prime Video. A group of friends competing for the Duke of Edinburgh Award.
Yeah, they were supposed to send me that, and I didn't.
This one people have been talking about at work.
Yeah.
The personal history of David Copperfield.
Dev Patel.
Yeah, so I love him.
It actually looks pretty entertaining.
And Tilda Swinton, so I'll watch it. I'd like to see it.
I think it's kind of a comedy drama thing.
And then the last one here is A House of Carden. Don't know.
How do you know it's not Cardine?
But Dionne Warwick, Sharon Stone, Pierre Cardin.
I'm already out.
It might be Cardin because there's Pierre Cardin.
I'm already out when he got
Naomi Campbell. This is a very bizarre cast. Huh. It's a documentary.
Oh, it's got to be.
It is about modeling, about Pierre Cardin then. There you go.
All right.
And then don't forget there's some straight to video or video on demand releases like that new Bruce Willis Hard Kill movie and
there's another movie. I know I was gonna tell you, then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, sorry.
I believe it's this week, so if it's this week, we'll watch it to talk about next week. But it's right up your alley because because you mentioned The Purge earlier. That's why it made me remember. There's a movie coming out called The Binge. and it's a Hulu movie.
Okay.
And I believe it's a case of there's like one night that all drugs and everything's legal, and it's Vince Vaughn. So we'll have
It's gonna be funny.
It looks hilarious. I saw like a little trailer thing for it today. And also, before we wrap up and completely, be sure to go on. This weekend was DC Fandom, which was basically an online virtual DC event. Part 1 of 2, September 12th. Wow. They're doing a second one, which I'm assuming that one will focus more on the comic books and all that kind of stuff. That's been a big uproar. And people are like, it's so great to see all this stuff. It works out great, but why isn't anybody talking about the creators? Because it's coming up on Wonder Woman's 80th birthday.
Yeah.
And they talked about the movies and that stuff, but nobody mentioned any of the comic stuff and who created Wonder Woman and all that stuff they think felt missed. But anyway, they debuted the new trailer for Wonder Woman 1984. They debuted a behind-the-scenes featurette for the Suicide Squad, as well as what's called the roll call trailer, which is just showing the cast and who their characters are.
So many people in this movie.
Yeah, they debuted the teaser promo video for Black Adam. They debuted the trailer for the Batman, which looks badass. I'm already going to say that I was completely wrong right now because I didn't like the casting of Robert Pattinson as Batman. But I do like him as an actor now.
Did Lighthouse help change your mind?
Is what?
Lighthouse, did that help change your mind?
No, his last few movies have changed my mind of him as an actor. He's a good actor. He's like everybody else in Twilight. They suck in Twilight, but they're actually not bad.
The life
like Kristen Stewart's done the same thing. I've liked her.
Yeah, she's been good.
Even though I didn't like Charlie's Angels, I thought she was really good in the movie.
Yeah.
And what was the other movie she watched? I thought she was really good in. It was
right underwater movie.
Yeah, I thought she was great in that movie.
I'm waiting to see that other movie where she's
Seabird.
Yeah, Seabird.
Yeah. Which is it's on there. We just gotta watch it.
Okay.
But anyway, I'm just convinced that the Twilight series sucks everybody's talent away. But anyway, the movie looks awesome. They also announced the Shazam 2 title. It's called Shazam: Fury of the Gods, which is Shazam 2. And they added Sinbad to the cast. So he's the big one, which then became a whole joke with Kazam. And he comes on the panel and he calls Zachary Levi John Krasinski.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
He's like, thanks for asking, John Krasinski. Anyway, there's a lot of cool stuff. You can find it online. You can find it right here on our YouTube channel. There's a lot of the videos posted. But you can also search out there and find it if you just want to find it on your own. A lot of fun stuff going on.
Yep, there you go. So make sure you check out our website, HollywoodMatrimony.com. We've got all the cool stuff up there. Thank you so much for watching us live on Facebook and YouTube. You can also find us on the Twitter and the Instagram. Yep, and join me tomorrow for another episode of Martial Art Movie Mondays. I'm planning to talk about Underdog Kids, a movie, not a new movie, but a movie directed by Philip Ree from Best of the Best, and starring him. It's kind of a Karate Kid-like family film we'll talk about. I don't know if we'll do TV Tuesday. We'll just say we aren't, and then we'll show up and surprise you all if we do. And then we'll be back here. Because I do have something to talk about. Yeah, well, I do too. And then we'll be right back here on Sunday for all new episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. Definitely talking about Bill and Ted 3, The New Mutants, and whatever else we come across. There you go. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Now I have to get up and go turn off the camera awkwardly. I hate to see you go, but I love to watch you leave. Okay. Bye. Bye. Thank you so much for watching.